welcoming you back to the desk of Caddicarus. Join us as we partake into a new installment of Current Quickies.
Hello, my duckies, and yes, all of my stuff's in the wash right now. Sorry about that. And today, we're going to be talking about Zombie U on PS4. Well, except it's not on Wii U anymore, so let's call it Zombie PQ. This game overall is just as solid as I remember it being, but the real question is, how does it hold up, and how does it fare on more modern systems? Well...
Okay, here we bloody go, another remaster, or at least a re-release on a modern system. And what better game to talk about as we get closer to Halloween? This here is Zombie, originally a Wii U title called Zombie U, and one that launched to decent reviews but not too amazing audience reception and barely any sales. And to be honest, as I sit here and play through it again, I still don't understand most people's complaints. Okay, sure, it's another fucking zombie game with survival elements and objectives towards finding a cure, blah blah blah, but if you ignore the frankly lazy concept and judge it for the game that it is, Zombie is actually one of the finest constructed survival horror games to have been made in quite some time when it released. And not just because it's set in London and the representation is pretty spot on. This here is a game in which you never feel safe from the second you start playing it, and has one of the most eerie and throat-ripping atmospheres in a zombie game I've ever played, purely because of how weak your character is. And I say your character because there is no main character apart from the NPCs. Once you die, and you move on to the next survivor who's given a random occupation and gender, ready to get all the way back to where your last guy left off. And similar to Dark Souls, if you die, then you can go and retrieve your old items, but only once you kill your old self, who's now one of the undead with your old backpack. But because of how much travel time and supplies you can lose, this mechanic works its way to the horrors. You can even be one-hit killed by zombie bites if you're really careless, and all of this combined makes every room you enter and every noise you hear nerve-wracking, especially later on when you get jump scared, not just because it's surprising, but because you have no idea how the tables will turn and how much you can lose from just a simple event, depending on if you panic and react poorly to it. Ammo, supplies, and even wooden planks to board up certain doors to avoid conflicts are some of the most limited and treasured you'll ever see in a game like this. Enemies are strong, deadly, and are best taken at no more than 2 at a time if you can help it, and every time you search through boxes, cupboards, or rummage through your backpack, the game also changes perspectives to let you look around the room behind you just in case you get attacked. Yes, everything here happens in real time, and like I said, you never feel safe. Item management is also pretty cool, since Molotovs are insanely useful, yet take up an entire slot of your limited space. So deciding on the best times and situations to use particular items without wasting them, or using them only to die and get nowhere, adds to the stress. And the highly revisited and explorative level design connected by shortcut openings helps you feel like you're getting slowly stronger as you gain access to areas you couldn't before and scan around for secrets. I could talk more about the game itself in depth, but all I will say is pick it up and give the Wii U version a go, because this video is about the PS4 remaster or re-release, whatever you want to call it, which is what you've been looking at in this video. And yeah, it looks crisper than the Wii U counterpart, and many of the gamepad mechanics had to be stripped out to streamline the gameplay, make it easier to grasp and manage for a more fluid experience, but every chance the devs had to change things, it didn't work or make the game itself play a little bit better. It was not fully acted upon. Especially sad since the awesome gamepad mechanics that made you feel that much more part of the world and freaking out looking at 2 screens at once aren't there anymore. And just for that instance, the game isn't worse for not having them, but what I'm saying is that it needed to improve other areas if it had to compromise some, and this version doesn't quite do it. I desperately wish that backpack space was improved, since you can't actually get rid of your default handgun and cricket bat even if you find way stronger melee weapons and handguns in the game. That's just fucking stupid even when you find bigger backpack space. And I also wish that the directional button quick equipping was fixed instead of confusing yourself with double taps left and right along with single taps to pick what you want. Can I also ask why the game doesn't run at 60 FPS? Much like Deadpool, I don't 100% understand why this was re-released in the first place, or a redoing for more powerful systems if 60 FPS isn't even considered. Last of Us did it, even Doom did it as a brand new game, so what's Zombie's excuse? And I repeat, inventory space and management needed fixing. The Wii U game could do a lot more manageable things because it had another fucking screen to work with, but instead of taking some of the things out or changing certain buttons around, they went with some of the weirdest and, when in a panic, most confusing methods of quick equipping and double tapping I've ever seen. Especially problematic since if you need health in a fight, you can't use a certain number of the same item, like in The Witcher or something. Once you use it, you're stuck until you're safe enough to equip even more health. Don't get me wrong though, this isn't really a negative review. The game itself is still very good. I'd give it a solid 8, and I think it's worth a revisit for how much more streamlined and approachable the game is now compared to how brutal it was on Wii U, even though doing everything through the gamepad served to make the experience that much more tense and immersive. But everything that game did bad, it could be excused for it being a first attempt, and this could have fixed it all, adapted to no gamepad properly, and made it a definitive version of the game, but as it stands, unfortunately it is. Like I said though, it is still very good and I enjoyed it, but I don't quite get why this is PS4 worthy exactly.
So, I'm gonna give the PS4 version of Zombie a 6 out of 10. It's still a very good game, but I think that the experience is best left for the Wii U version, especially since the PS4 version doesn't do that much different whatsoever. So, there you go. But if you haven't played it yet, I still suggest that you do. Pick it up, because it's a load of fun, and you're gonna get a fright out of it. Cue.